So there's one important component of this new working conversation that Wizards of the Coast published, and it's regarding the OGL 1.0a. You know, that document that they're trying desperately hard to crush and eliminate and not allow anyone to use ever again. Here's the key thing here, ever again. Their specific wording, they were very careful about this in their conversation here, working conversation about the open game license by Kyle Brink, who I was told, I don't know if this is true, I haven't confirmed, but someone said that until he published this article, he had never had an account on the D&D Beyond website. If that's true, someone said that that's the case. It's very, who is this person? I've never heard of them. In any case, it says here, your OGL 1.0 AA content will not be impacted. Any content you have published under the OGL 1.0 A will always be licensed under OGL 1.0 A, but no mention is made of you being allowed to continue to use the OGL 1.0 A with your future projects. Now, this is very suspicious because, again, going back to the original wording, it says perpetual, and some people have argued, there's arguments on both sides of the fence, but my interpretation, and I'm not a lawyer, but I have done a lot of business over the years, and I've talked to legal counsel. Everybody out there has an opinion on this. Different lawyers are giving different advice on either side of the fence. But my understanding of things is that you can't revoke something that's perpetual when the intent of that perpetual license was open and free forever. But they're trying desperately to make that not the case, because you'll notice here that there's no mention that you're going to be allowed to continue to publish content under the OGL 1.0A. They want you to create any content moving forward under their new OGL and whatever terms they're going to put in there, and with their one D&D system and all their rules and regulations about what you are and aren't allowed to write about, whether or not you're allowed to use the term races, or you're going to have to use the word peoples or species. They want control of all of that. And while it is a good step forward making an apology, there are a few key components that are going to have to be in their new OGL for anyone to even consider working with them again in the future. And one of which is that the new terms, and I mentioned this during yesterday's video, the new terminology must include the wording irrevocable, so that future lawyers can't try to pull a fast one like they're trying to do right now and claim that this word, perpetual, which was interpreted to mean forever, and later on was redefined to mean something different. We need to make sure that there's language in the new OGL that makes it permanent forever. And the number one thing fans have been asking for since the beginning, and I mentioned this in my video the other day on if they would come out and make an apology. Here's what I would do if I was running Wizards of the Coast. You have to allow people to continue to use the 1.0A. You have to. It literally says perpetual, and the interpretation was forever and open. You've had Ryan Dancy and other co-creators who authorized and worked on that and architected that document are out there in the public stating that that license was never meant to be revoked. It was meant to be a forever, perpetually open license, continually evolving, that allowed people to work within that framework. It was not meant to ever be brought back in and have portions of it closed off. You'll also notice that there's no mention anywhere in this document of things like movies or video games or TV series or things of that nature. All it says is your accessories for your own content will be yours. It says no changes to the OGL will affect your ability to sell minis, novels, apparel, dice, and other items related to your creation, characters, and worlds. But it doesn't say anything about other mediums. Because if I get a deal to make a Netflix show, or go off and do a Kickstarter, like Vox Machina, and I get a deal with Amazon later on down the road, there's no mention of that anywhere in here. So this is why, even though they've come out and made an apology, there's still too many questions up in the air for this to be a trustworthy statement from them, especially considering they still refuse to address whether or not you're going to be able to continue to publish any new content under the 1.0A. Because according to this, it's very specifically worded that anything that has been published will be okay, and that will remain under the 1.0A. But they mention all this other stuff about some of the things that won't be touched by the new OGL. Make no mistake, they want you to sign the new OGL. Don't fall for it. The other issue I have with this is this feedback. Where's this feedback taking place? All of these surveys and everything else are being done behind closed walls at D&D Beyond, where you have to create an account and do all these, jump through all these hoops to even be able to participate in the conversation. That's not an open conversation. That's a one-sided, behind this wall where we can control things and moderate comments and so on and so forth. That's not an open conversation, or an open survey. It's being done in a way where you have to sign up for their servers to even give information in the survey in the first place. So my initial reaction to this was like, hey, they made an apology. Let's give them credit for that. And I think that is still generally true. You got to give credit where credit is due. You may not agree that the apology is genuine, and like many people like myself, we've already moved on. We're already looking towards the orc and making our games system agnostic, and we are moving away from Wizards of the Coast. And no new contract, no new OGL is going to convince me to come back. At this point, I can't even recommend the OGL to anyone. I need to wait and see what the new language is going to look like in totality before I can even do that, if I even will do that. Because here's the reality. You've already shown that you're willing to pull the rug out from people. And the only reason I think that they apologized in the first place is because they got caught. And since they got caught, they went, oh, we actually, and this might be legitimately true. I have no idea. It might legitimately be true that they did not have bad intentions. It might legitimately be true that they didn't have bad intentions, that they were just got so caught up in crunching numbers and they thought this was going to go through because they have this huge market share and we could do no wrong and let's just do this. And it came back and hit them in the face so hard they were like, wait, wait, what? It may very well be that that's the case and this is all just them reacting to it. But the problem is it doesn't appear genuine. And that whole thing about trust has to be earned, that's going to be a hard road back. And unfortunately, when you keep pushing this new OGL down everyone's throat, it's very hard for people to take the company seriously, especially when they have this wording in here that's very specific about content that has been published in the OGL 1.0, but nothing about future content, because that's where they want you. They want you on the new OGL so that going forward, anything you create will be potentially at risk for them coming back down the road and trying to do this again. Unless, as I said, unless there's some sort of language in the new OGL that is all about being irrevocable, permanent, in perpetuity. I have a contract for a rights agreement that I have with, I won't mention names or anything else, but it literally says in the rights agreement, in perpetuity until the end of time, etc. in there, because it's very specific that can never be, that rights agreement is in place and cannot be revoked unless there is written consent between the two parties. Otherwise, it is a ironclad forever document. Okay? And that's what essentially needs to happen. And this is what they're trying to do, because that's what they see needing to happen. It has to have that kind of language in it so that it's very clear that everything is until the end of time permanent, because that's just the way legal things are worded these days. But they're not willing to adopt the 1.0A to do it. They want to throw all these additional terms into it to update the license for all the things that they think they have a claim to. Because again, they're not mentioning anything about video games and movies or anything else in this list. They only say accessories, and those were things that previously they said that you were going to have to pay them revenues on if it was done through a Kickstarter, like the minis and things. They had very weird ways of categorizing whether or not you owed them money for miniatures based on how it was done in the Kickstarter. I mean, they are literally looking at every potential monetizable angle and saying, how can we get 2 cents off of that? How can we get 10 cents off of that? And it's both of the drafts that they've sorry, I got to use air quotes. Both of the drafts that they have put out, that they've tried to get people to agree to, have been horrifically one-sided in favor of them getting all the cash. So again, it's still very hard to believe that this is genuine, considering they still won't address the OGL 1.0a and people being able to continue to use it because it's forever. It's right there in the language in perpetuity, but they don't see it that way. So anyway, love to hear your thoughts. Drop them down there, comments below. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. Let's continue the conversation. I'll probably do a live stream about this soon, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to support if you can. Super chats on premieres like these, which are every morning at 6 a.m. Super thanks after the fact. Memberships are down below. Also a Patreon page for our tabletop world point and click game and fantasy series. See you at the Discord. All the links are down there. Until next time, everybody, stay safe. Keep on gaming.